bong, bing, bing, bop, bop, bing, bing, bong.
You know what that is?
Bing, bing, bop, bop, bing, bing.
What's up guys, RiftsTV here with a Feral Druid guide. If you're new to Feral PvP and you want to get into arenas, then this is the video for you. I'm going to be going over talents, macros, and some add-ons that I use. Before I jump into that, I'm going to go over some comps that we can run as a Feral. First one would be Jungle Cleave, second would be FMP, and the third would be FPS. I think the jungle and FPS are going to be your top tier, top one, you know. Just because they have more setups than FPS would. FPS is more of rock comp. You know, you dot and you bleed everything. Your only setups you really have are the priest silence, your bash or your maim, and then the rest of shaman's hex. And then you have jungle, which has trap, wyvern sting if he specs into it. You have bash, you have maim. And then you have an in cap if you spec into it, and then you have priest, fear, and stun and MC. So that's a lot of CC on the healer, which can really get a lot of defensives or even a kill. And then you have FMP, which has your maim as a stun or an in cap. Then you have bash, then you have poly, then you have root, then you have the paladin's hodge and repentance. If he specs into that, I don't know if that's viable for FMP, but you also have blind from him, and then also with FMP, I think FMP is just going to be, you know, tier 1. I think it is tier 1 for fire mages and ferals. I'm not too sure, but I know it's for feral. It has to be for feral because you have, you know, it's not just the CC, you have defensives. So you obviously you have your bear form in your wall, and then you also have bop that you can get from the paladin. You have 2 sacks to get through, and freedom to get away, which is really, you know, helpful. So I think FMP is going to be your go-to if you really want to push high in arena. Then FMP is going to be your go-to. Then it follows by jungle and then FPS. FPS is kind of my favorite. Just I like dotting everything and watching everything just rot away. But so let's get into the talents here. First, for the first row, we've Lunar Inspiration, Blood Scent, and Predator. These two are absolute fucking garbage. For arena, Lunar Inspiration is going to be your go-to. It just acts as another bleed. It's range, so you can build common points off of that if needed. And then for our second row here, we have Renewal, Displacer Beast, and Wild Charge. Wild Charge is going to be your go-to for most of the time. If you are facing a comp, you know, several times in a row, you can possibly go Renewal. If they're just always going you, this could help possibly. But for most of the time, you're going to be running Wild Charge. Displacer Beast just isn't good. It's a 30-second cooldown and it's just a blink. You can get 2 wild charges off before this is even up. And then for the third row here, we have Balance Affinity, Guardian Affinity, and Resto Affinity. Guardian Affinity is going to be your go-to. Balance, I don't see a lot of ferals using that, or Resto Affinity. Balance might be good against casters, but you just take so much damage as a feral that Guardian Affinity is just, for me, it's just too good to pass up. I've seen ferals every once in a while. I'll see a feral run Balance Affinity, but just I can't. I just die in the stun. So Affinity is just too good. For the fourth tier, you have Mighty Bash, Mass Entanglement, and Typhoon. Typhoon just is not good. No one even uses it. You have Mass Entanglement, which you have no use for that. You already have a root. And plus you have nothing to use with this to follow up with it like a Balance Root does with their Solar Beam. So Mighty Bash is your go-to. You're always going to run this. And then you have Soul of the Forest, Incarnation, and Jagged Wounds. Jagged Wounds is PvE. Incarnation, that's the best one right there.
The talent is extraordinary.
For arenas, for PvP. And then Soul of the Forest is also PvE, I think. And then in the next tier, we have Sabertooth, Brutal Slash, and Savage Roar. Sabertooth, it's really great.
Going to be so great.
Have 20% increased damage on Ferocious Bite, like that's a lot. And then Brutal Slash, you could possibly use this with like a rock comp, like I said, you know, FPS or even FLS. I didn't mention that, not that good, but FLS is Affliction Warlock, Feral, Resto Shaman. You could possibly use it, you know, use this talent with one of those comps. Savage Roar is just PvE. No one ever uses this in a 3v3. So the next tier we have, or in the last tier we have Moment of Clarity, Blood Talons, and Illuden's Guidance. In Illuden's Guidance, it's not as good as these two. With these two here, I feel like Moment of Clarity is better than Blood Talons. They do about the same damage. With Moment of Clarity, I feel like you get more out of it. You get more energy. You get 20% increased damage on Shred, and then you can also get more stuns out of it. And you don't have to waste a global on a regrowth just to get 2 Blood Talon proc, or 20% increased damage on your bleed. And that's really all the Blood Talons is used for. Now getting into the Honor Talents, we have Gladiator's Medallion, Adaption, and Relentless. Gladiator's Medallion is going to be your go-to. Adaption is just not good at all for Feral, nor is Relentless, just because you don't want your trinket to automatically go off and then die in a stun, you know, 5 seconds later, or whatever it is. Same with Relentless. This isn't gonna save you at all, like Gladiator's Medallion would. Because, for an example, let's say you're facing against Rogue Mage Priest. You know that comp's constantly about doing swaps and doing a lot of damage every minute. So, I mean, they could open up on someone and blind you, get your trinket, and then swap to you with a full kidney shot and all their CDs, and you would die. You'd have no way or anything to get out of to go bear form or anything like that. If you're, you know, Gladiator's Medallion, you know, that rogue's not going to waste his blind on you to try and get a trinket. Well, I mean, he might, but you know, you'll have a trinket if he, you know, swaps to you, and or if they swap to you and they smoke bomb you, you have, you know, a trinket to trinket the stun and get out of that bomb and go bear form. And if you can in time, you know, maybe use your survival instincts if it's needed. And then for the second row, we have Hardiness, Reinforced Armor, and Sparring. These two here, I switch out. I use Reinforced Armor against casters and Sparring against double melee comps. And then for the third row, we have Tooth and Claw, Protector of the Grove, and Thorns. Again, I use Tooth and Claw against casters and Thorns against melee, double melee. So when you're fighting double melee, you know, you run this right here. If you're facing 2 casters, you run this and this. If you're facing a caster and a melee, you would probably want to run Reinforced Armor and Tooth and Claw. You're gonna get more out of Tooth and Claw than you would Thorns, because it's, you know, 45-second cooldown and only lasts 12 seconds. So definitely these two here against double caster and caster melee, and then these two against double melee. Now for the fourth tier, we have Savage Momentum, Freedom of the Herd, Malorn's Swiftness. Savage Momentum is going to be your go-to. Anytime you kick a cast, it will reset the cooldown of Tiger's Fury, and you're going to want to use Tiger's Fury when applying your bleeds or doing a Ferocious Bite, just because you get energy, you get 60 energy back and you get 15% increased damage. Also, you Fury of Ashbane. Tiger's Fury grants 600 versatility to you and four allies for 10 seconds. So that's also, you know, good. Versatility gives you increased damage and healing done. Decreases damage taken by 12% for me. But so it's really good to definitely run this, get kicks, and kick the cast to reset the Tiger's Fury. This, never use it. I never use this either. Um, I mean, maybe you could run this. Maybe if you're running like a melee comp, so like you as the Pharaoh and maybe a DK, so you could run like Ebola or a warrior. You could run Kitty Cleave. Maybe if you don't have or if they don't have a way out, you could possibly run this. But I still think this is going to be way better than that. For the 5th tier, we have King of the Jungle, Enraged Maim, and Earthen Grasp. King of the Jungle is kind of my go-to for most comps. It's definitely really good with rock comps, with like FPS. And then Enraged Maim, this is your in cap, which I use this with jungle, but King of the Jungle can also be good with jungle cleave as well. But I like this just because if the hunter can't get a trap on the healer, I can enrage maim and incap instead of the trap. This does DR with trap, by the way, so just so you know. And then Earthen Grasp, this is really good against melee comps. This is also really good with FMP because you can, if you're running FMP with with a priest instead of a paladin, your priest can fear the enemy healer out of line of sight, and you can run over there, root him, and he won't be able to get out unless it's a paladin that can freedom himself. This talent makes your continuing roots it can't be dispelled, so that's really good, which means if the enemy healer gets feared out of line of sight of his partners, then you can run over, root him, and he can't get out or dispel himself, and then your mage can go over poly him. So this is also really good to use. It's also really good to use against comps that have melee, they can't be dispelled or anything. And then for the last tier, you have Fresh Wound, Versus Wound, and Rip and Tear. Rip and Tear is just not that viable at all. It costs 60 energy, and it applies Rake and Rip. You're not ever gonna have a time where you really need to get bleeds up right away, I guess. I mean, you're always gonna have bleeds on your target. Even if you're spreading your bleeds around, this still just isn't that good. You have Ferocious Wound. This is your go-to. You always run this. This acts is like a what is a Mortal Wound or Mortal Strike from a warrior? The healing reduction. But with this, it just reduces their health by 50%. So this is really good. Even with the nerf, I believe it was what, 20% or 25% before, but they nerfed it to 15. But this is still your go-to. Fresh Ruin, again, you're always gonna have a rake up. You're never really gonna, let it fall off just to get 60% increased critical strike. So that kind of wraps up for the talents. Now let's get into, I guess, the macros. So these are the macros I use. They're not perfect. So the first one here is spell macro, and this is the same. This macro here is the same as my regrowth macro, and my trap macro. I'll go over these in a second. Basically, this makes it where, like, I could be over here. This could be my target, and I wouldn't have to target, my party member to dispel them. This macro instantly, I mean, I can be targeting him, I could be targeting myself, and hit the keybind to this macro, and it'll take you out of form and dispel your target right away. Same thing with regrowth. Um, Also with these macros, if you haven't noticed already, I have party 1. Then in this one here, which is for my DPS, you can put their names. I use names, I don't use party 1, party 2, only for 2s. But when I do 3s, I put my whatever my DPS is. If it's like a hunter or priest, shadow priest, I'll put their name here, and then my healer's name would go here. Or you can do party 1, party 2. And then trap, my trap macro is for my healer. So anytime they are about to get trapped, your healer can call that out. Or if you're watching the hunter, the enemy hunter, then and you know that they're gonna trap, you can hit this and it will leap you to your healer, and you can have the chance to eat a trap. Then these other ones here, like this one here, is my focus charge. I have focus bash, focus maim, which I'm probably gonna change these to like this one, arena 1, 2, and 3. Probably switch that up and get rid of this and get rid of this. I just have to decide what keybinds I want to use those for. But for now, you can use this. And then focus kick. I don't use that anymore. I still have it. Same thing with roots. The roots macro is the same thing with these two. And then my sap macro is basically like a sap macro. If I'm fighting another pharaoh or I'm fighting a rogue, I can just spam this in stealth and have a chance to get him out before he gets me out or before he saps me. Thorns macro, same thing as these here, just puts thorns on without having to target them. And then over here is my burst macro. I do this. I do was Berserk and Target's Fury together. I try to make sure they're up at the same time, and then I burst. I leave this. I leave my racial out for you know, after my burst has faded away, just because I don't really need 15% increased haste with burst. I mean, maybe, but I like having the haste. I feel like with 15% increased haste, I get energy back faster, and when you're bursting, you already have basically unlimited energy. So I use this after. I use this later on or at the beginning. And then I have this, which this one isn't really needed anymore, just because hunters don't have Scare Beast and pharaohs don't have Hibernate. And that's what I use this for. It just takes you out of cat form, or you know, any of the forms that you're in, to stop the cast from Scare Beast or Hibernate, so you wouldn't get Hibernated or Scare Beast or Feared, whatever it was. But that's basically it there. And then I have Arena 1, 2, and 3 Skull Bash, which is very helpful. It's definitely made me improve. Instead of having to always change my focus target to kick. So it's really good. And then same thing with Entangling Roots. I still have focus roots, but I'm trying to get this down to Arena 1, 2, and 3 roots. But that's it for the macros. That's all the macros I have. And I guess now do add-ons. These are the add-ons I use. So Quartz 3, Omnibar. So this one is a lot, but this doesn't come up all at once in Arena. This right here, I have this here. This box here is for kicks. This one here is just for CDs. You know, like Bubble and Incarnation, Berserk, Ascendance, you know, Life Cocoon. That's what this box here is for. And then I have Recount and S Arena. S Arena is kind of like Gladius. You can still use Gladius. I prefer this one. It seems much cleaner than Gladius. Gladius is just a big box. This one takes the default Blizzard UI, and you're able to move it around. You change the size of your of the cast bars and the DR tracker and the trinket. You can see what CC they're in, what spec, same thing. That's basically it. And I guess that's it for the video. Um, if the video was helpful to you, then go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and for those of you who didn't like the video, dislike it and leave me a comment down below and tell me what I can improve on. For those of you who like the video, leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future. I also play Resto Shaman, so you'll probably see some content of that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment down below. If there's anything you want to see, let's maybe a comp versus comp. Maybe I can do a video on that. Just let me know. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to Clack, Stoops TV, and Savix. Thank you guys for inspiring me to start my own channel and to live stream, which I haven't done that in a while, so I will definitely be trying to do that soon. But yeah, just thank you guys. Thanks for helping me. You guys have a great day.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.